And the boys are here for episode 13, coming off of week 3. Like,
Yeah,
I always get confused with the week 0, but
no
like
doubt.
week 3. But Mitch, happy to have you, dude. How you doing over there?
I'm doing great here in America. Let's talk about where you're at right now.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Let's talk about where I'm at. I'm out in London, and I'm having a pretty electric time out here. I have met somebody that I care about, and we're gonna have some fun with that. But we're not going to talk about it because we're here to talk about football. So let's go with our college football takeaways from week 3. It was a lot of stuff going on in college football. It's kind of an interesting week. Like, not a lot of headline games. Like, you had Mizzou, Boston College was the only ranked matchup, which was a pretty good game, but nothing to really like talk about in totality. But as we look at the week, what were the things coming out of week 3, Mitch, that we talked about?
Yeah, like you said, it wasn't a huge week of storylines, but we came up with a few that we thought were interesting, and obviously the one that probably a lot of people are going to talk about, and we'll get to it eventually, is Arch Manning kind of finally got a shot, playing well when Ewers went down, and then Georgia barely squeaking by in a 1-point victory versus Kentucky. Poor Florida State. Just like,
When it
oh
rains, it pours, huh?
yeah, I mean it's done over there. It's tough, and then something that I've been thinking for a while, not for a while. I mean, they never were not back, but Bama being back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just watching them play week 1, I feel like they still had that same attitude and that same chip on their shoulder. But Bama, I guess officially back. Big win on the road at Wisconsin. So we'll dive into all 3 of those. But us, the number 1 team in the country,
Yeah.
Georgia, who we've said is the top dog for a while and has
Yeah.
proven to be the top dog.
Yeah.
1-point victory at a Kentucky team who got housed last week by South Carolina.
Totally.
Probably a bottom of the SEC team. How does something like that happen?
Honestly, you see it happen all the time. You really do. It's a little bit more rare with the team as dominant as Georgia, but you're also looking at, like, it's not like Kentucky scored a lot of points. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
12 points. So they still played defense. They did what
yeah,
they do. But I think it has a lot to do with just like people forget that, these are young cats, dude. They're 18 to 22, 23 years old. And like, so the emotional roller coaster through a season is profound. And when you look at the way Georgia's season has gone, they have rolled, absolutely rolled. You look at Kentucky, basically the exact opposite. So
yeah,
Kentucky comes off getting their ass kicked by South Carolina. And this is where, when you have two narratives, I've always thought this, like, when you have two narratives that are completely opposing each other, and you have the team that's rolling and flying and everybody's talking about rolling into the house for a night game of a team that everything is going wrong, they're going to play their best football game.
yeah,
So Kentucky's defense, their offense sucks. Let's just call it what it is. Their defense, okay? And their defense coming into the season was supposed to be one of the best defenses in the country. They have some good defensive linemen, a lot of returners on that unit. And, I think they gave up over 30 points to South Carolina last week.
they
So
did.
what
Yeah,
so what you have is you have a team with NFL players on that defense for Kentucky that are saying, like, this is that NFL game, and it's a night
yeah,
game. And the fans, while they're pissed at Stoops, I'm sure, like, they're there to give their best, because if you beat a team like Georgia in that situation, the whole season turns around.
yep,
Then you just add a little bit of that motivation and a little bit of just what's in the air there at a night game at Kentucky when they're fighting for everything. And Georgia's offense just looked out of sync, out of sync.
yeah,
And they got it when they needed it. But in general, I mean, it was an ugly game just
yeah,
on both sides. Like, no moving of the football, kind of that old traditional rock fight. And just, I hated being a part of those games, like, especially when you're on the Georgia side, because you walk out and you're like, yeah, we won, but like, God, that was miserable. Like, you
yeah,
didn't feel good about any of that. So, I mean, that's my take. And I've had some time as a coach to like see those things kind of happen in the locker room and in our coaches' meeting rooms. I mean, you kind of approach the game a little bit differently, where you're just like, all right, Kentucky is beating themselves right now. So we don't need to come in here with a bunch of exotic different plays to try to
yeah,
score a bunch of points. Like, let's just go in there and beat them. But Mitch, before we transition to the next topic, like I think it's good for you to give your insight too on like, yeah, how you see those games where again they beat the crap out of Clemson and then came back the next week and kicked ass again and looked like just that juggernaut. And then they don't look like that at all offensively. How to you do you see things happen like that?
Yeah, I think, they've maybe a little bit of disinterest, and not to say that Georgia wasn't prepared. They're always going to be prepared, especially with Kirby Smart. He's such a great coach. I think if you look at Georgia's schedule down the line, they got some big games, right? They go into a bye week this week, I believe, and they go to Alabama.
Yeah, that's right. That's
so when you have, first of all, when you have the bye week coming up,
right.
Vibes are high, right? The vibes are high. Everybody's ready. Everybody's ready for the bye week. And then when it's the Alabama after that, you can kind of start thinking ahead to your next opponent and to what's to come. And I also think in the SEC, you see a lot of these. I've always said this. In the SEC, anybody can win any game in the SEC.
Back.
There's only a few teams that can win the national championship from the SEC because they have the coaches, the culture, the players. Everybody in the SEC has got the players.
Yeah.
Kentucky's got horses just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And they got NFL guys just like everybody else. So these individual games, that's why you see, a Bama lose to like a Mississippi State every few years or like a Georgia get knocked off, Everybody in the SEC's got the guys, so it can happen on any given night. It's just whoever's going to win the SEC is going to be the team that's going to be the most consistent. And hats off to Georgia. They were in a shitty football game. And they still found a way to win.
They got it when they needed it, for sure.
They got it when they needed it. So I think it just solidifies that a game like that is more impressive of a win for Georgia because they got it done when it was tight and that panic can sort of creep in versus blowing them out by 28-35.
And for the average listener here, like I want to actually go back to something that you just mentioned there, because like when you hear two guys say like that the team's just super excited to get to bye week, like I think a lot of people don't fully understand what that's like, especially early in the season. Like, what the hell do you need a bye week for? Like, it's week 3, dude. Like, what do you need a bye week for? Like, enlighten the people. Like, why are you looking forward to that bye week so much?
Yeah, well, it's week 3, but you had 5 weeks of camp.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for 8 straight weeks, every single day has been the exact same.
Exactly.
It's been football, and we love football. It's awesome. But the bye week is that 1 week out of 6 months straight where you might get to sleep in 2 days that week. You don't practice every day. You can actually sit down on Saturday and watch college football.
Totally.
Like you can go to dinner with your buddies and stay up till midnight because you don't have to be up till 8 the next morning. Like that stuff doesn't happen in a college football season.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, well, what about Saturday after the game? Well, dude, you play an away game at 3:30, you're not back till midnight. Like, it doesn't happen. And then you're back up Sunday morning for lifts and meetings. Like, it's football 24/7, and it's awesome. But the bye week, dude, man, you get to just be a college kid for 2-3 days. And I'm not saying go crazy, but, like, you just get to go do normal stuff. Like, and it's awesome. And it's just simple, and you're not stressed about a game. So the bye week is always huge.
Well, the second topic this week, like I wanted to put them both together, is Florida State being in shambles and then Bama being back. And I think Bama's is fairly simple, like to explain. I think we all know that they have a really good team. There's just a lot of questions with Nick Saban being gone, and like how do you replace that? I absolutely love Kalen DeBoer and the coach that they got. So like I think Bama is gonna keep rolling here. But they were missing a couple offensive linemen. They hadn't had a full healthy contingency on the offensive side of the ball come back yet. And so the echoes or the thing lingering in the background is like, well, Saban's not there. And then you have a couple performances that like, when you're in the fourth quarter against, I think it was UAB, was that right? Or it was, no,
USF. I think USF, yeah.
Yeah, when you're in the fourth quarter in a game like that and it's Alabama at home in Tuscaloosa, it's like it just creates a narrative that's like Saban's gone, they're struggling, like, and while it's not true and they showed us it's not true, Bama coming back there is just going into Madison, Wisconsin and thumping Wisconsin, like that. It's just that's Bama being back, like the other one is Florida State in shambles. We'll touch that for sure. But do you see the Bama one with anything more than that? Just them coming back and obviously expectations. What are your expectations for Alabama moving forward?
Yeah, I think Alabama. I think the top dog in the SEC is Georgia, and then 1B is Bama, and
Totally.
then it's a competition for who else can be at 1B between Ole Miss and Tennessee, like we talked about
Well,
last week.
remember too, we got Texas now.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, you're right. I totally forgot that was SEC. So I mean, yeah, okay. So I would put Texas at that 1B spot,
Right.
and then Bama's right underneath, and then Tennessee and Ole Miss. But again, it's not about Bama being back. It's just proving that they are still Bama without Nick Saban.
Right.
And they did lose a lot of cats to the portal. There were a few guys that got up and left, but
There were.
I mean they reloaded, and I think Kalen DeBoer's a great coach, and yeah, I think Bama's still got a great squad, and Jalen Milrose put himself in the Heisman contention. I don't think
For sure.
he might have one turnover, but he's got a ton of touchdowns, and he's doing it through the air on the ground. So
Dude, he may be the best athlete in all of college football. I mean,
yeah, and he can spin it good enough to be
for
effective in
sure.
the passing game.
Absolutely. No doubt. And that Georgia, I wonder who Alabama plays this week. I haven't checked.
I think
but,
they're on a bye as well. They're on a
are
bye
they?
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, gear up, everybody, for
Yeah, dude, that's
number
gonna be a
1 and
nuts
number
game.
4 in the country going at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a week and a half off 2 bye weeks together. Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that'll be ridiculous. All right, well then now we go to Florida State, which is on the exact opposite end of the spectrum here.
Yeah.
Give me your raw takeaways, dude. 0-3, you lose at home to a Memphis football team. It wasn't really ever in contention. Like Memphis went in there and scored early, and they were up 2 scores pretty much the whole game. So, to you, I definitely have some thoughts here. Like, what are yours?
Well, we texted during the game, and I just said they've become a team that is so scared of screwing up, so scared of losing, and basically so scared of what's coming true right now that it's coming true. And I've been there. I've been there. My biggest fear when all the bullshit was going on was getting benched at Virginia Tech,
Yeah.
and it happened.
Yeah.
You become so scared of and so on guard of your biggest fears that you almost psychologically make them come true.
Right.
And that's where they are right now. That is not a football team that's trying to win. They are just trying everything in their power not to lose. And if they won that game, there's no smiles. It's just, oh my, thank God we won that game.
Right.
And now you got a guy, DJ, who's nervous about, do I have a starting job anymore? You got a head coach that's nervous. Am I going to get fired? Which he shouldn't.
No.
But those are all real things in college football, especially at a program like Florida State. Those programs tend to be a little less patient than everybody else, and that's kind of what I'm seeing. What are you seeing?
I mean, for me, this just now goes into the coaching side of things. It goes into that coaching and culture side of things. Like DJ's absolutely in a brutal situation. I mean, they have Cal. They play Cal next week, and I think Cal is 3-0, and Florida State is 0-3, and so that game, if DJ is the starter in that game, everything is riding on that game for DJ. But I think bigger picture is like, Norvell's a good coach down at Florida State. He wouldn't be there if he wasn't. I think you go from the polar opposite swings here of last year to this year. So you had Jordan Travis and a lot of older leadership on that team last year, and you go 12-0 during the regular season, and everybody said they got screwed out of the playoff, but Jordan Travis not being a part of that football team completely changed that football team, and I think that's why they got trounced in their bowl game. So they shouldn't have been in the playoff, but anybody going undefeated in any college football season is ridiculous. So it was going. You got it going down there, and now to quite literally be the opposite of going at an 0-3 defeated record. There's more things going on there. I'm not implicating any coaches in any wrongdoing. The pieces that they've constructed and put together, whether that be because they feel obligated through the transfer portal, maybe they just lost that many guys to the next level that they just don't have any synergy on either side of the ball. Now you start to get into the questions of culture and the questions of coaching decisions, and you get into just a different narrative now. So the house is completely on fire. Everything's on fire at this point. 0-3, quarterback's not playing well, not doing anything well really in all 3 phases. I just pray that fans are able to distract themselves for a week, which won't be the case down in Tallahassee. But
No.
hey, I'll be tuned in to Cal Florida State for a completely different reason than I ever originally thought I would be. Yeah,
Me too. Me too. Oh,
and
man.
then, dude, I feel like I'm too hard on the cat sometimes. So let's lead you in with Arch Manning. Okay, Quinn goes down with an abdominal injury, and I hope that he's okay. Just it's been so much fun to watch that guy play football and watch him lead the Texas football team. And I think that's why, as I led in with this question, like I said, like I'm kind of hard on Arch, is just I hate the fact that everybody in Texas and it's almost like a national narrative is talking more about Arch Manning half the time than they are Quinn Ewers. It's like
Yeah.
you have quite literally the best quarterback in the country or second best there with Cam Ward. And it's
Yeah.
like, and we're talking about who? Like, why are we talking about Arch Manning? I get that his last name is that, but he is the fucking backup quarterback. He is
Yeah.
not the starting quarterback. So
Yeah.
when I went to a Texas game last fall, like seeing Manning jerseys all over the stadium was just like,
Yeah.
what is going
Yeah.
on here, dude? What is going on here? His NIL evaluations, all these things, and the kid has nothing to do with it. So that's nothing from me to Arch, but just in general, like. And now he goes out there and absolutely pounds UTSA. So, like, just give me your thoughts on that, Mitch.
Yeah, it's such a weird dynamic. And, like, yeah, I think he's a good player, but it is so funny when we see all this stuff when you quite literally have a Heisman contender at quarterback. And it just shows the nature of college football, man.
Right.
No fan base is thankful for what they have at the moment. They always want what's next and what's better. And unless Arch Manning becomes the best quarterback in college football, you're not going to get better than what you have right now.
Right.
You literally have a top 5 pick, Heisman contender, national champion contender quarterback, and you're thinking about the future. And it's just nuts. And again, it's nothing to do with Arch. He's a good player, and from what it seems like, he's a good dude.
For sure.
And I got to give him the credit. Bro, he came in there with the game wasn't on the line, but the game was still a game. I think it was a 14-point game when he went in there and played his ass off and played well. And did a great job of being ready for when his name was called. And I think it's another cool story to talk about. Just a guy that could transfer anywhere in the country and is cool with being patient and waiting his turn. And also a kid that has to deal with an unbelievable amount of pressure, probably more than anybody in the country.
Definitely.
Because of his last name.
Definitely.
And because of how highly rated of a recruit he was. If he does not win the Heisman, win a national championship at Texas, and go to the NFL, people are going to think he's a bust, which is bullshit, complete bullshit.
Complete bullshit, yeah.
Just the narrative and the pressure that he's under, that's kind of where he's at in his life. But awesome opportunity for him, even with all that pressure, to go in there, yes, versus a lesser team, but played great, played his ass off. So I got to give him credit there. And obviously I'm rooting for the kid. I'm rooting for everybody.
100%.
But it is so funny just seeing people like, dude, you have Quinn Ewers. Like, it was like the Jimmy Garoppolo bullshit in New England.
Right.
Like when Brady was down for like the 4-game suspension. Like, oh, do we need Brady? Like, shut the fuck up, dude. like, shut up, dude. What are we doing here? But I know you got a lot to say about it. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a lot to say. I mean, because we covered it, right? I'm more just like, again, I'm standing up for Quinn Ewers here, where it's like,
Of course.
I just hate the fact that like any of the attention is diverted away from that guy with what that guy's doing and the way he's leading his team and all of those things. That said, like Arch did exactly what he was supposed to do. Like UTSA, they had an unbelievable thing going with their quarterback. I forgot his name last year, but he had played there for like 4 years and he was an incredible kid and just a really, really good player. So UTSA is super down. Yeah. And it's like, and Texas is, a bought and recruited roster that is easily one of the top 3 football teams in the country. Okay. And you go out there and it's like, you are playing on air, dude. I mean, that's so disrespectful to UTSA, and I'm sorry, UTSA, but it's like you got dudes everywhere. You're not getting touched. And so when you're 9 of 12 for 225 yards, I mean, I can do some quick math in my head. That's like averaging over 24 yards of completion. Like that.
I think it's exactly what it is. Yeah.
That doesn't happen against anybody, dude.
No.
So like, that is what you should do. 4 touchdowns there. And then I think the one that got everybody excited because it broke the Manning mold was this guy. rumbles for a 67-yard touchdown.
The goofiest touchdown run you ever seen.
Chance Peyton or Eli is ever doing that shit.
Hell
so
no.
it was impressive. But yeah, I'll be curious to see. I hope Quinn comes back. Obviously.
Yeah, I think it's like a week-to-week thing they were saying.
Okay. Well,
I
hope we get him back. But I thought it was a middle of the road week. I looked at next week's schedule and I think next week's schedule is kind of a middle of the road week as well. I'm really looking forward to Tennessee and Oklahoma. I think that'll be a really good one.
Yes.
But outside of that, it's not a lot. And then I looked at it and it's like the fireworks start in 2 weeks. So I think the 3 takeaways are important. I think it's good to track where everybody's at. But other than that, if we screwed it up royally, drop some stuff in the comments and let us know. But we appreciate you through week 3 of college football, and the fact you're still listening, dude, means that you actually kind of fucking understand what football is all about. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Peace.